and a warm welcome to Bernette and Bernina. My name is Antje Gut. I am the product manager of Bernette sewing, embroidery and overlocking machines.
Hello. This chat will be about similarities and differences of the Bernette cover and chain stitch machines B42 Funlock and B62 Airlock. I'm Doris Breckbuell, educator and overlock specialist at Bernina International. Users for cover and chain stitch machines are mainly sewing enthusiasts that sew highly stretchy garments for adults or children and stretchy projects. We will start with the B42 Funlock, right? Okay. The B42 Funlock sews 4 and 3 thread cover stitch and 2 thread chain stitch, and its threading is conventional. Its looper thread has all open thread guides starting from the pre-tension tension all through the looper eye. But the B62 Airlock, as its name indicates, offers more, Antje.
Yes, that's right. The B62 Airlock comes with an air threader. The air threader is positioned behind this cover, and you will see it here. Yeah, maybe we start easily with the threading of the looper thread. We've just had to cut here the thread. And then take a little bit of the thread to put it here into the nozzle.
And I see the start is the trickiest bit. The rest will be done by the machine, right?
That's right. And then I have to close the tubes, the air threading tubes. You hear the clack. And then just press this button. Maybe I have to give more thread. And then you can see the thread comes easily out here, out of the looper.
Very easy. And just fast. Yeah. So I would say this is the major difference between threading the two products. The looper either with the air threader just through the machine or with individual open thread guides. Then we come to the needle threads. The needles are individually threaded from blue to yellow for a 4-thread cover stitch, or just with 2 needles or 1 needle for the chain stitch. There is a threading sequence with this machine, looper first and then from blue to yellow. What about the B62 Airlock? Is there a threading sequence?
There is just a threading sequence between the needle threads. We have to thread in first the yellow, then the green, and then the blue threading way. It doesn't matter if you thread in the looper thread before or after threading the needle threads.
That makes it easier when you sew with decorative threads. You can just change the looper thread, right? Excellent, yeah. That's an advantage of the B62 compared to the B42, where we still follow a threading sequence when changing a thread. Let's assume we have threaded, just talked about 4-thread cover stitch, that's why we have 4 threads in. This machine indicates the different stitches, 4 different stitches, 4-thread cover stitch with 3 needles, 5.6 millimeters wide. Then it has a wide 3-thread cover stitch with left and right needle. It has a narrow 3-thread cover stitch with left and center needle, and a 2-thread chain stitch that is sewn with the center needle. And the default settings for these stitches are indicated in the instruction manual. And all the settings for the selected stitch are individually adjustable, such as thread tensions, stitch lengths, and differential feed, to get the perfect stitch no matter the thread quality combined with different fabrics. what about the B62 and its stitches?
Just let me first close this looper cover. Oh, did you see? I cannot close it because there's the knob. As long as the air tubes are closed, I cannot close the looper cover, so I have to deactivate the tubes and voila, it can be closed. For the B62 airlock, we have the same stitches as for the B42 fan lock. Additionally, we have two other stitches. These are the change stitches with, on the one hand, with the right needle and on the other hand with the left needle. So the user can choose which distance she wants to have to the edges of the fabric. All the stitches can be found on the stitch overview, which is included in the machine. There we have all the different stitches with the main settings, the default settings we have to adjust the machine for. Here the thread tension, and on this side the stitch length, the maximum stitch length with 5 millimeters we have on this machine, and the differential feet. So all the adjustment possibilities are positioned on the right side of the machine.
Very convenient for right-hand users. And also, I'm sure, left-hand users will work well with that. In addition to what you just mentioned, Antje, I would like to point out, you said chain stitch can be sewn with either right, center or left needle, because you may want to guide either along the right edge of the foot or the left edge of the foot, or along one of these guidelines on the cover stitch cover. Also the B42, of course, has guidelines on the cover stitch cover that are pointing towards the center needle. But what I mean to say is, of course, you have very much space to the right and left of the foot, which makes guiding along either side even more practical. Also the B42 has space to the right of the foot, so I can conveniently sew hems or top stitching projects guiding with my both hands. But you have something more when it comes to sewing comfort on the B62, right?
Yes, that's right, on sewing comfort. With the B62 airlock, the large extension table is also included. Maybe you want to add it on the machine?
Absolutely. The slide-on table hooks in or can be detached with a knob.
And wow, it's really large sewing space also on the left side of the needle. So for large sewing projects, it's very easy to guide and to position them on the extension table, on the slide-on table. But as you can see here, there's just an edge. And for this, we have, especially for this extension table, another cover stitch in the larger one, which we can easily change with just putting a knob here and attach this one. And as you can see, it's a closed sewing area also here in front of the machine.
I would say this is the biggest difference of the two products. Not only the size and the sewing comfort, also the size of the machine. If you say what are the differences in the two products, the B62 airlock comes with a large slide-on table and a cover stitch insert that fits that slide-on table, whereas the B42 has a smaller footprint. It has no slide-on or extension table to the left. Also on the right side, that's how far it can go. That may be a disadvantage, you think, but it can also be an advantage when it comes to moving the machine away, if you don't have the space to have the cover stitch machine always ready for sewing. It's also lighter in weight. But you said it's also convenient when you go to classes.
Yeah, that's right. You just to pack it, to put it on the handle, and well, you can travel with it. So
off you go.
Really easy. But there's more sewing comfort on the B62 airlock. Maybe you have seen it before. This is the knee lifter. And if you have used it once, you will never have another machine without a knee lifter. You just have to put with the knee lifter. And as you can see there, the presser foot will be lowered. And with another put to the knee lifter, it can be raised temporarily.
Yes, that's another very big difference to the B42. The B42 does not come with a standard knee lifter, nor can it be added optionally. Its presser foot will be lowered with the hand lifter at the machine head. And let me just place a piece of fabric underneath so that we can come to sewing. When it comes to sewing, both products are equipped with AC motors and are controlled with a conventional foot control. That means I control my sewing speed on the B42 fun lock between about 600 stitches up to a maximum of 1300 stitches. And as soon as I go off the foot control, the machine stops immediately. So in order to remove the fabric, I have to turn the hand wheel to bring the needles up. And then I can raise the foot. For example, to secure the stitch, pull the needle threads and cut them. Remove the project and have the end of my cover stitches secured.
So let's just hear how the B62 airlock sounds and sews. I will also put a piece of fabric under the presser foot. It is the same foot controller as for the B42 fun lock. So the maximum sewing speed is 1300 stitches per minute, but the starting speed is a little bit lower. It's around 350 stitches per minute. So let's just hear. And now maximum speed. So now we raise the foot and we use the cover stitch locking tool. For the cover stitch locking tool, we just put here the threads under the presser foot and cut them with the manual thread cutter on the left side of the machine. Now we can put the fabric and voila, what a nice seam.
Very nice. So the difference is obvious. You have a slower speed to begin with. The max speed is the same. You can control the speed finer, and standard with the machine comes the CS lock tool. And if you aim for the CS lock tool, you can buy it optionally for the B42. So much for sewing, I would say. Let's have a tour around the machine, or do we want to start with the accessories? You already started with the accessory, actually. I know the B62 has more. What is more?
Yes, we have more here. The decorative thread guide, which is included. This decorative thread guide will be used for, as the name said, for decorative threads, for heavyweight decorative threads. To put it here on the machine so that the threads can be threaded through these thread guides instead of these pre-tension.
That's especially useful for long stitches with heavy decorative threads, because that just leads me to another point where the B62 differs from the B42, the stitch length. right?
That's right, yes.
The stitch length on the B62 goes up to 5 millimeters. On the B42, the stitch length is up to 4 millimeters. Stitch length here 1 to 4, differential feed 0.6 to 2, and the differential feed on the B62 is the same, 0.6 to 2. So our thread tension adjustabilities. More about the accessories. The standard accessories, the most often used standard accessories, are inside the looper cover. That goes from the tweezers I've just used to the screwdriver that's used to change the needles, or a manual threader for the needles. That's also in the looper cover. And the other standard accessories are coming in the accessory box. On the B62?
Just here, if it's just open, the standard accessory in the accessory box is the same as for the B42 fun lock. And the oven used standard accessory used for sewing is positioned here behind the looper cover. I just have to put the machine a little bit more in front. And as you can see, also the screwdriver, the brush, and here the tweezers from Bernina with a sharp tip in the front.
And also the B62 includes the manual needle threader and an assortment of needles, spare needles. Then I would say let's briefly talk about optional accessories. For both machines, there is available a set or individually purchasable optional feet, such as, for example, a hammer foot, a lace foot, a belt loop binder, and more. They come in an assortment or can be individually purchased. And they are compatible with the B42 fun lock and with the B62 airlock. But again, the B62 has something more.
Of course there's more with the B62 airlock. It is the cut-off pin. You can attach it on the machine on these attachment points. It's very useful, for example, for cutting the threads after the seam is finished.
We always have some threads to cut, or maybe some fabric to be cut back after hemming. So in the B6 series, there is one cut-off spin that is standard for the B64. That just leads us to the overlock machine, and is an optional for the B62 because the machine itself does not cut, but we as sewists cut a lot of pieces and bits away. Let's have a tour around the machine to see whether we have thought of everything. I think now with the two products the differences are quite obvious. The machine has thread tensions at front, stitch length outside right, differential feed outside left. It is smaller, compact, it is lighter, it only has about 6.8 kilograms, so it is ideal to carry away, or if there is no specific sewing space for the product, it's easier to be pushed out of the way. And it is, of course, an ideal companion for an overlock machine you may already have, may it be a B64 airlock, an L850 Bernina, or any other overlock machine if you aim to sew perfect cover and chain stitches, finishes to your sewing project. But also the B62 is an ideal companion, but its size, of course, is the biggest difference. And you may want to summarize what else is around the machine.
Yeah, as you can see here, the thread tensions, the thread tension dials, which can be adjusted individually. Then on this right side, especially for right-hand people, it's ideally the presser foot lever, the stitch length dial, and the differential feet. On the other side we have the pressure dial for adjusting the pressure foot pressure. Of course, it's obviously here the large sewing space we have with this machine, the knee lifter, and yes, of course, here's just one thing I've forgotten. It's the pin cushion. It's ideally to put your used needles in this pin cushion to separate them from the new needles. The new needles you can have or you can stock in your needle set. Yes.
Yeah, I think this is it. So, as mentioned, these machines are cover and chain stitch machines. They are an ideal companion to your overlock or sewing machine, of course. And if you're still not convinced whether you want one or need one or not, let us show some samples. Let me just begin with the 4-thread cover stitch. That's extremely stretchy. If you sew stretchy materials, then of course one of the typical examples is a hem, may it be a t-shirt or a sweatshirt in a circle. We forgot the most important thing.
I've just recognized it, yes.
What have we forgotten when it comes to sewing circles is, of course, the B62 is equipped with a free arm. We detach the slide-on table, and underneath we find the free arm cover, which is included in the design. That's why it hides so well, which can also be detached. At this moment we would also use the small cover again, the small cover stitch insert, but please excuse that we just go from here. A circle or a tube, of course, can be ideally sewn around the free arm of the B62 airlock. Then we have hems with elastic, where the elastic would have been sewn in with a 4 or 3 thread overlock. Also, this is a sewing technique that's extremely stretchy and perfect flat when not stretched out, sewn with a cover stitch. There are, of course, the possibilities to sew flat joining seams with elastic or with lace. For all the garments you may want to wear on your skin. And bindings. You all know the bindings from ready-made garments. This is a so-called two-step binding. I've attached the piece of fabric to my garment and then top stitched it to have a nice circle. Also here on the B62 with the free arm. And another binding with chain stitch, narrower, where the binding was attached with an overlock stitch and then top stitched.
And I've also some examples here. The first one is about the also with a tubular sewing around the free arm with the 3-thread cover stitch on this side. So perfect for your sweatshirts and t-shirts and so on. Then one example with a decorative thread. As you can see here, it's a very special on this piece of fabric. You can see it very well. And then we have the change stitch. Here on this side, as a normal seam, this is a change stitch to sew together 2 pieces of fabric. Then the change stitch can also be used for decorative sewing. For example, on this jeans with woolly thread.
I hope or trust this makes you want one of the great bernette cover and chain stitch machines. For more information on how to use the machine, how to thread and set, of course there are tutorial videos on the B42 fan lock, on the B62 airlock, on the bernette website, as well as on YouTube. There are also tutorial videos on the B64 airlock, of course. And for the practical use of the cover stitch machine, together actually with the B64 airlock, we have a tutorial video for the stylish wrap that can be seen on posters and on the box for this product. But as always, our recommendation is:
go to a dealer next to your location and try the machines. Find out which machines is the best for your sewing projects and for your requirements. And now it's time to say goodbye.
Yeah. Goodbye, and we hope you enjoy your sewing. Antje, have you seen how nicely the B62 sews decorative chain and cover stitches with decorative threads?
Great.
Not just practical, but also very decorative. I love it. And I'm so happy after all this talking that I can go back to sewing.
I love the flowers. I just have not flowers on my shoes. I have just sewn some really nice shoelaces. I found the instruction on the We Are Sew blog of Bernette of America.
Maybe I should go there too and find something for me.
Yes, of course, for decorative it's really great. And yeah, this on a B64, and what is now missing, it's the B62 airlock. I just cannot wait until it's available for the dealers.
The B62 is such a great machine.
Bernette, for all my ideas.